side by side with our law enforcement partners, our mayor, city leaders, to share the heartbreaking news that Jacksonville has suffered the loss of 3 precious lives at the hands of an active shooter. This afternoon, a little after 1 p.m., an individual we have not yet officially identified entered a Dollar Tree in the Newtown area of Jacksonville, outfitted with a tactical vest, armed with an AR-style rifle, and a handgun. Then the shooter killed 3 people before turning the gun on himself, taking his own life. Other than the 3 individuals killed and the shooter himself, there are no additional people who suffered gunshot wounds. We are not identifying the deceased victims at this time, but I can tell you that there are 2 male victims and 1 female victim. All of the deceased victims are black. Multiple units from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office responded to this active shooter scene, as did members of Jacksonville Fire Rescue, our mayor, and city leaders. We are still in the very early stages of this investigation, so there's a lot of information that we don't know at this time. I will share with you the information that I have been able to verify. The shooter was believed to have resided in Clay County with his parents. He was involved in a 2016 domestic call in Clay County with no arrest. In 2017, he did have a Baker Act. We know that at 11:39 a.m. today, Sheriff Cook gave us information that he left Clay County, headed to Jacksonville. At 1:18 p.m., he texted his father and told his father to check his computer. At 1:53 p.m., the shooter's family members called the Clay County Sheriff's Office. By that time, he had already began shooting in Jacksonville. The Clay County Sheriff's Office, who has been assisting our agency with this investigation, received information after the shooting that the shooter had authored several manifestos, one to his parents, one to the media, and one to federal agents. Portions of these manifestos detailed the shooter's disgusting ideology of hate. Plainly put, this shooting was racially motivated, and he hated black people. He wanted to kill niggers. That's the one and only time I'll use that word. I want to be very clear that there is absolutely no evidence that the shooter is part of any large group. We know that he acted completely alone. If you take a look at the images on the screen, you'll be able to see what he utilized. The weapons that the shooter used today are a Glock and an AR-15 style rifle. This is a dark day in Jacksonville's history. Any loss of life is tragic, but the hate that motivated the shooter's killing spree adds an additional layer of heartbreak. There's no place for hate in our community, and this is not Jacksonville. As a member of this Jacksonville community, I am sickened by this cowardly shooter's personal ideology of hate. Homicide detectives are actively investigating this tragedy, and despite the fact that the shooter is dead, they will continue to investigate this until we have a complete understanding of what happened and even why he did it. Our Jacksonville community collectively cries tonight. To the victims and victims' families, our thoughts and prayers are with you now and will remain with you. Please know that in the face of this tragedy, this agency and our city stands with you. We stand united and resolved in our commitment to accountability. We stand united with each other. Those who have personally suffered loss and those who have been touched by this tragedy, we are with you. We stand united and resolved against all forms of hate. And at this time, I'll take any questions that I can.
Sheriff Waters, does the Sheriff's Office consider this a mass shooting, and why or why not?
Yes, it's a mass shooting, it's an active shooting, whatever you want to label it. It's a shooting that should not have happened under any circumstances. I don't think names of the shooting really matter. What matters is 3 people lost their life today.
Sheriff, there are reports that the suspect may have been seen on Edward Warren University at first and then made his way down the road. Can you confirm that? Was the plan to maybe start to go there?
I can't tell you what his mindset was while he was there, but he did go there, and he did put his vest on and a mask on, and then went directly to Dollar General.
Sheriff, did Edward Waters University catch the incident on camera, on their cameras?
That's still part of our investigative process.
How does the community, the Sheriff's Office, everyone that you see side by side, how do you go about healing that process to know that those type of ideologies still exist today? And you said it's not Jacksonville, but I mean, obviously, if there's an affiliation there with Clay in the metro area, there's still people who have those thoughts.
Well, you see us standing here together, right? So none of that, that's an outlier. That doesn't represent who we are as a city and who we are as a people, right? Our mayor's here, our political leaders from all over the city are here, and it shows where we stand and how we believe as a community. Politics aside, none of that matters. What matters is who we are as a community. We stand together as a community. We live together as a community. We fight together as a community. And when someone comes into our city and does this, we're not going to stand for it, and we don't accept it. So we're always going to fight against it.
Mayor, you were out at the scene. Your thoughts about this as you stood among the community?
I'm gonna take this off, Sheriff, because they're not gonna see me behind there. I'm sorry, Dan.
You were out at the scene. Your thoughts about how the community is dealing with this, your reaction to what has hit this community again?
Well, I'm heartbroken, obviously. This is a community that has suffered again and again. So many times, this is where we end up. And there were so many people out today, obviously grieving, upset. It's just something that should not and must not continue to happen in our community. It's too often the same folks. And this type of hate, this type of, you see the swastikas on the gun, we must do everything that we can. We must do everything that we can to dissuade this type of hate. And so, I can't even begin to tell you how frustrating this is for all of us, because we've seen it too much. We've seen it too much. And this, as you know, was the anniversary of when we had the shooting at the landing. And I believe that was also indicated in the manifesto that he was aware of that, and perhaps chose this date in alignment with that. So there's a lot here. But as the sheriff said, this was a hate-filled crime, and we just shouldn't have that kind of hate in Jacksonville.
Does anyone know what the Baker Act was about back in 2017?
So that's still under investigation also. And before we go any further, I want to give Sherry Onks, the SAC for our local FBI, an opportunity to address you all about a few things. Sherry.
Thank you, Sheriff Waters. First, on behalf of the entire FBI, I want to express my deepest sympathies to the loved ones of those innocent souls that we lost in today's attack. No life should ever be lost to this kind of violence, and our thoughts are with the families tonight after this tragic event. Immediately upon learning about the shooting, FBI agents rushed to the scene to assist our partners at JSO. As we speak, members of our evidence response team and our investigative specialists continue to work alongside JSO to ensure every FBI resource is brought to bear to aid in this investigation. I have committed to Sheriff Waters that our assistance will continue for as long as necessary. In addition, FBI Jacksonville is coordinating with the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of Florida. We have opened a federal civil rights investigation, and we will pursue this incident as a hate crime. Hate crimes are always and will always remain a top priority for the FBI because they are not only an attack on a victim, they are also meant to threaten and intimidate an entire community. Everyone has a right to feel safe in their communities and in their homes, and I assure you, the FBI will bring every resource we have to bear to bring justice to the families of those innocent lives we lost today. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Sheriff Waters.
Sheriff Merrick, you also mentioned that swastikas were found on the gun.
We saw the pictures of the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he own both those guns, or were those parents' guns?
No, they were not his, those were not his parents' guns. I can't say that he owned them, but I know his parents did. His parents didn't want them in their house.
Did he legally purchase those guns?
From what we can tell, we don't know yet. That's still a deep part of the investigation we have to get into.
Did he ever have the guns taken away by like the red flag law? Or-
Again, that's something we can't get into because we don't know yet. I wanted to get out here. I want to tell you as much as we could right now so that our community will know, one, that there's no danger, no further danger, and two, I want to be as transparent as possible. I want to let you know exactly what his intentions were because there's no reason not to tell our community what went on. And I think that's important for people to know.
There was also last night, there was a shooting early this morning in Boston. Obviously, we have the Jags tonight. I mean, is there going to be any sort of extra precautions in the near future for those type of big events that people may?
Jags games and events are very well covered, and one thing has absolutely nothing to do with the other. This was quite frankly a maniac who decided he wanted to take lives.
Was this a targeted crime, Sheriff, or did he just pick a community and it was opportunity?
No, he targeted a certain group of people, and that's black people. That's what he said he wanted to kill, and that's very clear. And I don't know that the targets were specific, but I know that any member of that race at that time was in danger of the black race. Any other questions?
Sheriff Waters, I was going to ask, is there any reason why your office is not identifying him yet? Can you clarify why not?
Yeah, I'd love to identify him, but we're not identifying him because we don't have a positive identification. It's very important for us as an agency to make sure that we have an official positive ID. When a person is deceased in Jacksonville, that body is in the custody of the medical examiner's office. So we have to wait until we can make a positive ID. Once we do that, then I'll tell you exactly who he is.
Jumping off that real quick, is there, I mean, can you give it like an age range? Living with parents?
Early 20s,
Early 20s, white suspect?
white male.
Sheriff.
Thank you.
One more question, was it Dollar Tree or Dollar General?
Dollar General.
Okay.
Dollar
Sorry,
General.
I know Dollar Tree was in there once, I just wanted to
Yeah,
clarify.
Dollar General. All right, thank you.